Well, Josh, we know we're here to talk about your fight, but we got to talk about the big news first, if you don't mind. What were your initial thoughts?
It's not mine. I've never met her before. I have no idea what.
The other big news, of course,
Oh,
that
yes.
Cain Velasquez is out. Stipe in the heavyweight title shot.
He's out? Isn't he married?
Out of the fight. I'll try to phrase these a little more completely moving forward. What were your initial thoughts hearing that Cain Velasquez had to withdraw from the fight?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily classify him as fragile, but he has had a history of injuries in the past. And as anybody can tell you that competed in this sport or followed it closely, I mean, training is rough. Training is the hardest part of all of this in terms of the toll it takes on your body. And injuries are a fairly common thing. However, hearing that he had a back injury is actually pretty troubling. From an athletic standpoint, because your back, your neck, those are some things that are really, really important, obviously, but they're also some of the hardest things to get over. And often a bad back injury means your career is done or surgery. So I don't know exactly the extent of his injury, and I hope it's not too bad, because you wouldn't want to see a fellow athlete unable to ply their trade, at least in a manner that way. But what it does say is that the heavyweight division is wide open right now. Stipe, I think, will give a great fight to Verdum. Changes things quite a bit on strategy, but there are some similarities on how each fighter is going to approach this. But that means that myself and Ben, we're going to be looked at as what I believe the next contender for this fight. And the winner of this fight is going to have an incredibly strong position to claim for that spot.
I was going to ask you, I mean, certainly I know you don't want to step over anybody or wish bad things, but I mean, does it kind of
I don't care about stepping over anybody. Are you kidding me? And plus, that has nothing to do with me anyways. If I get chosen, it's probably because of my comely haircut and my snappy fashion sense. But for whatever reason, if they choose me, it's going to be warranted. I held the UFC title once before, and I could hold it again. So I have plenty of credentials as why I should be fighting for a heavyweight title fight. And going out there and beating Ben is just gonna give them more incentive to do so.
I haven't heard what the extent of Cain's injury is either, but let's say it's just a couple months, a little rehab or something. I mean, he's been promised a shot. He's a former champ as well. But at this point, do you think it's, Cain, I'm sorry you had your chance, back to the line, buddy, or do you think there's a chance he could slip in there and still get a shot?
Well, I have no idea what the head office is going to make a decision on, right? I have nothing to do with that. But I know that I'm going to go out there and give the kind of performance that's going to warrant me getting that title shot over anybody else.
The last thing I want to ask you about Cain, I mean, obviously you're not inside his camp, but the guy's 33 years old, as you said, just dealing with injuries. What would you do? I mean, you don't know what he's doing, but I mean, do you think would you look at training first, like what they're doing at AK? Is it a situation where some guys' bodies just can't go through this?
Maybe he needs more probiotics. I would say eat more sauerkraut.
That'd be number one recommendation.
Yeah, number one. Yeah, definitely.
All of AKA, just more.
Yeah, just more kraut, more kimchis. You know, any sort of fermented veggies.
Fair enough. Well, I appreciate you talking about all that. Let's talk about your fight, Ben Rothwell. Break the guy down. I mean, he's been around for a long time.
I intend to. Yes, mentally, emotionally.
Well
hit him where it hurts.
Well played. Well, what do you think about his game? I mean, a guy that's been around for a long time, has a lot of fights like you, hasn't necessarily accomplished what you've accomplished, but what do you think about him?
He's a big ogre, man, and he swings hard and often. He's proven his worth. He's got a fairly respectable record, and he's on quite a win streak, which I think is probably the most important part of when you look at Rothwell's legacy is what he's been doing over these last 4 fights. So, I mean, this is a guy that did lose to Mark Hunt on the ground. So, you know, he has negatives. Hey, so do I. I've had my moments where I didn't perform at my best. But I think that Ben Rothwell is going to show up the best that he's ever been, arguably. And he's looking to build upon what must be a lot of confidence coming into this fight. But I've seen Ben at his worst. I've seen it before, and I think I can bring it out of him without alcohol and drugs. Just through being a sportsman at this point.
People talk about striking, but I mean, you've been there with guys like Caratana, Viable, Hizo, I mean, top-level strikers.
Yes.
How does he compare to those guys? Can he? Because it seems he's got the power.
He's more like a less refined Karatanov. He doesn't have a lot of the technical refinements, but he's got a hellacious chin and he's got one punch knockout power, which is dangerous. The fact that you can get out there and just get full on delivering punches to his face and just keep scoring and you can be falsely encouraged to keep going to town on him. And all of a sudden, one shot comes and gets you behind the ear, like with Overeem, or he just swings blindly and hits you in the chin like Schaub. And that's you don't want to lose that way. Also, because when you watch a replay, you're like, good God, man, he must have hit me by sense of smell because he wasn't looking anywhere he was going. But what that does say is, he hits as hard as he looks he does.
Yeah. You mentioned where the winner will stand in the title picture. I wonder, where does the title rank for you in terms of importance? I mean, you've got your commentary going on. I know how much you love training and coaching and that sort of thing. You've got these other passions in your life other than just fighting. Where does that heavyweight belt, regaining that title, where does it rank in terms of your life?
I'm not doing this to be mediocre. So winning that belt is exactly why you get in the ring and why you go on these paths, so that you can get those opportunities, so that you can be the champion, so that you can be number one. And I've been number one before. I can be number one again. And to go out there and come back around after, 14 years or something crazy, I don't think that's something anybody has ever done. And to regain the title at my age. And to go out there and prove what I believe in and prove what my coaches believe in as far as training concepts too. So, did you appreciate it enough the first time around, or do you have regrets that maybe you didn't? No, I appreciated it, but it felt, I don't know. I think the second time around I'll probably have still some of the same feelings as far as it belongs here. Like, of course I'm the champion again. What else should I have expected? I know I can win title belts. I know I can beat anybody in the world. So. It was a great moment at the time. It would be a great moment again, and it would be a hellacious thing to add to my legacy.
So what do you think of Ben Rothwell's promo skills?
I think he needs work, but he's in the right direction, and I fully encourage it.
Oh, that laugh is...
It's a good laugh. Ben's got a big, baritone voice on him, man. That's a good thing to use. I wish sometimes I could have that deep Barry White-ish sort of tone to me.
So you were out for almost 2 years before the Roy fight in September. Do you feel like a new fire? Because I know you have a lot of things going on. You're doing the commentary, you have movies, but do you feel like a new fire fight after that Roy fight?
No, not necessarily. I just feel like everything in your life is connected to some degree, and for me, it's about trying to move ahead and move forward and improve and grow constantly as a human being. This is part of that. Now, this is something I've been involved with for a very long time, something I put a lot of energy into. But it's not enough to just win in fighting and to grow in fighting. I have to grow everywhere. So, according to my girlfriend, anyways. So I just need to keep moving forward and keep building upon this. As the success will continue in the gym and in the ring, success will continue in other ways too.
Was there any point during that time off that you thought, I don't really need to come back, I have all these other things going on?
Well, I feel like that all the time. I don't need to do anything as far as in your typical sense. I need to do it because I need to do it. I need to go out there and fight and get the most out of my athletic opportunities and go out there and win that title back for myself and do those sort of things. But I could just quit fighting. I could leave this and go, hey, thanks for the ribeye, I'm done. And I got plenty of things to keep me busy.
Right.
Fighting is not the only thing in my life, and it never was the only thing in my life, but I have other pathways if I have to apply a trade, and I wouldn't be sad about doing these other things either. I enjoy them as well.
So what motivates you to keep going? Is the title? Is
caffeine.
It fights?
I've had a decent amount of caffeine this morning to be as sharp as possible. I don't know how effective that's been so far, but the day's not over yet.
How important is that to have
Caffeine? I don't know, man. It's pretty up there. I am from Seattle.
Now, like you said, that fighting hasn't been like the number one thing controlling your life for the last 10, 12 years. Like, is that important? Like,
Personal motivation. Your own reasons for doing whatever it is, your raison d'etre, whatever you've decided how to approach life and how to accomplish it and how to conquer it, that is it. And fighting is a part of it. And fighting, what it requires is unique to itself as well as anything else you do. So it's not just time invested towards mastery of something, it's everything has its own process. Well, fighting's process takes a very, very focused focused as part of your life, because someone's going to go out there and try to beat you up. You know, this is not the sort of thing like, that I don't quite have my macros down for Final Cut, so it takes me longer to edit it. It's okay, it takes you longer to edit it, but no one's going to come up if you don't do it in 15 minutes and wallop you in the face with a baseball bat. That would make you a little more focused towards getting that process down. And if you could actually figure out all the ways on how to use Final Cut, I think you would probably be the only person in the world to really. I don't even know how people use Photoshop, man. That stuff is completely foreign to me. Adobe make great products, but it takes like an electrical engineer just to figure out how to open the manual, it seems like. So for me, fighting is something I started with. It was a huge passion of mine, and it still is, and I always wanted to be the best fighter in the world. I always wanted to be the best Josh Barnett as a fighter I could be too. So I have to put the efforts into it to achieve those goals, but at the same time I have to put those efforts towards being the best me as a person I could be. And I know that sounds like some sort of a general platitude or something you read in a shitty book like The Secret, but and it is shitty. You can't just will things into your life. That's an idiotic thing. The other guy probably also thinks that everything happens for a reason, which it doesn't. Yeah, or it does, and that the reason was because I made it happen. I picked up the bread and ate it. Fuck, man. So I have to, whatever potential that lies within me is there, but not unless I put the effort into it, unless I put the work into it, unless I put the energy into developing those things, however that path may come. And so I've only got so much time on this earth, and then that's it. So I better make the most of it. Right now, fighting is pretty much number one in my life, but I guess honestly it's number two to being just the best me that I could be. So
you see a guy like Conor McGregor, he's obsessed with fighting. He's always talking about stuff. I mean, do you feel like that's unhealthy as a fighter? I mean, he's obviously still very young in his career, but it seems like some guys say you have to live it and nothing else. And you're saying I think you're better off when you have a little bit outside of fighting. I
think you have to do what you have to do at the time that you have to do it. Man, what a bullshit. Okay, so basically, everything is fluid. At this moment, that's what Conor needs to do. Or at least that's what he believes he needs to do. And only time will tell him if he is wrong. But so far, it's been successful for him. There was a time, a large portion of my life where I was the same way, where almost all I did was spend time on fighting and training and watching fighting and doing all of that, especially early on, because there weren't, the options, the platforms didn't exist. So if I wanted to find out what it looked like to see, a Shuto trained fighter, I had to go find a tape somewhere and go watch it. If I wanted to know what was going on in Brazil, I had to get on the combat list, and then someone would give me the updates. Then I had to go chase down, who's this black belt guy that's been beaten, or who's the guy that just knocked out this black belt? I had to spend a lot of effort to figure out what was going on and to try to understand what the landscape of fighting was on a global scale and how that could impact me on my individual scale and what I'm trying to do as a fighter and how I'm trying to even get into fighting. So, so much changes with time and with the environment around you. And so now you can go to McDojos that are basically MMA schools. You can go to Sports Authority and buy MMA gear. You couldn't do that when I started. So as time changes, so does the way in which you have to approach things. And right now, I don't need to eat, sleep, and breathe fighting. I've done this for near 20 years. I've been training over 20 years. There are things that I understand about fighting that other people do not, and some people never will. And so what I need to do to work on things and to my efforts into fighting is different from what somebody else does. And when I was at Connor's age, I'd probably be more like him.
What do you think about his work in the promotional side of things?
Well, it's a double-edged sword, what he's doing. It's effective, but only as much as you win. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can play it off of even a loss. And, I'm not going to spend much time going into how to create a potential PR aspect of your career. But, he's pushing the buttons, and he's making sure that you care about him, even if the majority of it is hate. Or, and then you get, because it's so extreme in one direction, sometimes you get love from the other side because, people want to rally behind the person that has such a strong opinion. I mean, people are really jazzed about Trump because he just opens his mouth constantly and says just idiotic, completely just inane stuff. Just like, wow, really, dude? Why would you that's such an obnoxious thing to say. And to me, it's almost so over the top that I almost don't believe that he really believes that. I think he might be trolling a bunch of people. Met the man before. He was really nice, and he seemed pretty bright behind his eyes. So who knows, right? But strong opinions get emotions, get reactions. So, but like I said with Connor, if he loses, man, the backlash is going to be bad. But I don't know if he's prepared for that. In that maybe the way to approach that is to purposefully upset everybody. And if you go down in flames, as long as you know that that's coming, and it's like, all right, well, I earned it, but those flames could be used to stoke fires in a different direction, then you're okay. But if you're believing everything you say and you let that stuff get to you, you're gonna have a really hard life. Because especially when you don't understand that you created all that animosity in the first place.
Yeah, but you know what, Josh? People used to not always like you. You're not a warm and fuzzy, cuddly guy.
Nope. I use it.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Is that by design, or is that just a simple fact of who you are, or was that somewhat manipulated to play a role?
I'm not cozy and cuddly necessarily, unless your name's Colleen Schneider.
I know, yeah.
No, I don't really care what the reaction to things are for me. That's not how I live my life. And although maybe I am manipulating the public in some ways, because that is definitely something I would do and enjoy it. But the biggest thing is, man, when you want to go through life, you can't be doing things for what other people think about you. You have to do it for what you think about you, and that's it. And there's some people around you in life that have opinions that you highly regard, and it's good to listen to them. But otherwise, as much as I like the public just fine, and I've had great interactions with them over the years, and will probably continue to do so, and like the fans, and love the fact they get all this entertainment out of it. I've gotten flack before saying I don't do it for the fans, and I don't, because if I did it for other people, if I did it for someone other than myself, then it would be for the completely wrong reasons. And I think that if you're a fan of me, you would understand and enjoy and be glad that I do it for my reasons, and that what it is an example for anybody out there to do things for their own reasons, to be the individual they want to be and stick behind who they are. And if they make mistakes, you make mistakes, and all right, that's it. Fine, we move on. And if you're having success, you roll with it, you keep going and act like you've been there before.
But certainly there have been big influences on you. For example, the way, before obviously we know you have to wear the Reebok shorts now, but the style that you would fight in, the clothes that you would wear, the metal, the War Master, and you went from babyface assassin to the War Master. Certainly, I'm just curious what, over the years, what has influenced you the most in terms of how you wanted to even approach it?
Well, I was lucky to be dubbed the War Master. I believe on the Fox Road to the Octagon, they said self-proclaimed or like, no, you don't get to pick your nicknames. Bolt Thrower gave me the nickname the War Master, just like Babyface Assassin was T.J. Thompson and Matt Hume. And I first heard that and I went, oh, Babyface Assassin. But it's all right, you know what I mean? I learned to live with it and it was okay. But metal music and the style that I choose, the clothes I'm wearing today, this is me. I don't come out here to do this for anyone but myself. So that's it, man. You do your thing for you. You have your own sense of style. People, you know, David Bowie didn't do what he did because he thought everyone was going to dig what is the term? Not asexual, but androgynous spaceman. No, he just did what he wanted to do. He created what he wanted to create. Just as much as, you know, Watain doesn't really care if you don't like people covered in actual animal blood singing about Satan. You know what I mean? They do what they do because this is their form of creation. I am the same way. I don't do it to see if anybody likes it. I do it because this is how I want to be. This is how I want to present myself. This is the person that I am.
I am curious too about your
Satan?
No.
Yeah, I know. I mean, they don't have those little pamphlets, those little cheesy comics like the Christians do, right? Little Bobby accidentally had his hand touch him in the wrong way, and now who knows? Wow.
No, you've been around the game so long. I'm curious. It's kind of what we were touching on a little bit ago with the sort of new school and the new way people do this. But you know, you've seen the change. Some people say that it's not as exciting anymore because people fight for points and it's there's too much of a technical approach. Whereas in the old days, the guys just went in there and threw down. I mean, do you see a difference in the way the fighters are even approaching the game, and do you feel it's positive or negative?
Fighters want to be famous. Fighters want to make a lot of money. But we all want to make a lot of money.
Right.
But wanting to be famous is stupid.
Yeah.
Wanting to have fame, to use it as a tool to help your career, that's not stupid. That's the business side of things. Wanting to be famous says to me that you're trying to fill a void of some sort, that you're looking for some sort of gratification that you can't find within yourself. That's a failure, even if you become famous. You haven't done anything. You haven't fixed the issue within yourself. What you've done is you've buttressed it with a bunch of stuff that doesn't mean anything from people that don't even know you. So good luck with that.
And in part of that is that how certain people approach social media, and that, do you see that?
Well, I'm sure it is. I mean, it's all a part. It's all intertwined at this point. So, you know, you can't pick any one thing and say that this is an exception to that. It's all of it. It's all of it now. It's just the widening scope of what being an entertainer is in this day and age. We're athletes, but we're entertainers too. Yes, fighters do fight for points now. And that's not surprising because any sport or any contest, people will look to game the system. If you sit down and you play Monopoly or Sorry or Parcheesi, which nobody's going to know what that is just about, they're going to read those rules, and there's always going to be those people that are going to go, but if I do this, it doesn't say I can't, and it doesn't say it's against the rules, so I'm going to use this loophole to exploit the system. Fighters are going to be no different. They're going to exploit the system. The 10-point must system, often how judging criteria are determined, and they're going to exploit that system. They're going to go out there, I've only got 5 minutes to work, so I'll work in a different manner. I know what scores. They're going to do that. And the biggest thing is you have to adjust for that. But you can't make those adjustments in MMA because it's just too difficult. Athletic commissions, and no one wants to take a stand. No one wants to make a big sweeping change against anything just in case it might happen to be wrong, and then everyone's going to point the finger at them and say, oh, you ruined it.
But are you pro sort of half points? Are you pro a change?
I'm only pro no 10-point must system for MMA. It doesn't belong. And I'm also pro longer than 5-minute rounds. I don't think 5 minutes is enough anymore. I think 5 minutes has turned into a bit of a sprint, a couple takedowns, and now you've won the round. And I'm also pro having the referee be more a part of the action and to be more vocal and more aggressive in the way that they judge these matches. I think it's pretty obvious how to fight for points. I think it's pretty obvious when people are doing it, and I think it's also pretty obvious that things like fence grabbing should be an automatic deduction now. It's just too late. Eye gouges should be automatic deductions. I mean, it's just, I don't care if it's an accident anymore, it's too late. It's gone on, it is so obvious, and if you ask any fighter, you can get away with so much out there. There's always at least one freebie, if not 2 or 3. So it's got to end. If you don't want people to grab the cage, boom, point. If you're going to use 10-point must system, or even you can just, with pride, they would give you a yellow card. So they got to be more aggressive. You got to push the fighting more. You see a fighter just stalled up against the cage, not doing anything, break them. Their fighters on top, just holding on, break them. Fighters on bottom, just trying to stifle the action. You can penalize the fighter on the bottom. I mean, there's lots of things that can be done, but I believe you need probably a 10-minute first round or something. You just need more time to get stuff working. And so a lot of times at the end of that 5 minutes, it feels like one fighter's just started to get some momentum going, and then it's done. The other thing is, I think tournaments. We need one-night tournaments again. Every combat sport, no, absolutely not. Every combat sport, in fact, every competitive sport out there has tournaments. Period. It's just a part of competition. But
Bellator tried it, and unfortunately, too many people end up getting hurt, and so you have an alternate fight.
One tournament in how many years?
I'm saying, Josh.
One tournament, and how many tournaments have there really been since that last one?
Yeah.
None. So you can say one attempt over 10 years or something had some hiccups. Have more. Yeah. You have to take the mean of things, not the exception. So, and you know what? Sometimes that happens. Oh well, maybe a new star gets created. Steve Jenham got an opportunity because he got out there and someone got hurt, so he came in and he won UFC 3. I'm not saying Steve Jenham went on to become a great star, but it was still opportunity, right? Now there was something new on the block, something new to talk about. And at its heart, this is not a sport. This is prize fighting. It's not the same.